Good evening from Nivas, Puducherry. This is the 15th edition of the Nivas lecture series and the first edition online with our virtual audience. May I kindly request Sri Devanidhi Das, Officer on Special Duty to the Lieutenant Governor, to orient us to this program and to the eminent speaker today.
Namaskar. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very important day for us, and I'm privileged to introduce the program and also the eminent speaker of this evening. First, I would like to introduce about the program. The Nivas lecture series is an initiative of our beloved Honorable Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Kiran Bedi, Madam. It is basically to engage the citizens of Puducherry on thought leadership through a series of interactive sessions by eminent speakers from various fields like history, art, literature, leadership, management, science, culture, health, spirituality, and more. Envisaged by Team Nivas, this series endeavors to provide information on diverse subjects. This lecture series was launched on 23rd December 2016 with a talk on leadership energy by Mr. Rajiv Veshavaria, international management speaker. Over a span of 4 years, we had eminent speakers like Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, Mrs. Jaya Rao, Mr. Maxwell Pereira, the decorated cop, Swami Radhanath, Anil Swarup, Debashish Chatterjee, and so they are some of the luminaries who have shared their insights with the audience at Nivas. Today, in a new normal, we are doing this lecture series on virtual mode, and we are going to have the 15th lecture in this series by our eminent speaker of this evening, Sri Amitabh Kant, CEO of NITI Aayog, on a very extremely relevant topic. In fact, before introducing him, I would like to share with you what made us to call him on this special occasion. We used to read his contribution in the electronic and print media frequently, and two important articles which were published in the Economic Times as well as Times of India. These were widely circulated in the groups of senior officers as well as in the various groups, social groups. A lot of good reception was there, and it's more relevant to the contemporary time relating to pandemic, how you can take the problem into opportunities and how we can come out successfully. Now, a few words about our eminent speaker of this evening, Mr. Amitabh Kant. Amitabh Kant is presently a Chief Executive Officer of the National Institution for Transforming India, NITI Aayog, and he is a member of Indian Administrative Service of 1980 batch. He worked in Kerala cadre. He is an ideator. His contribution resulted in authoring a book, very important book, called Branding India, an Incredible Story. Basically, it's also he edited The Path Ahead, Transformative Ideas for India. As a part of NITI Aayog, he is the key driver of recent initiatives of Government of India, namely Make in India, Startup India, Incredible India, etc. Also, while he worked in Kerala cadre, his important initiative is well known throughout the world. It's called God's Own Country Initiative. It's well appreciated, internationally recognized. And as CEO and Chairman of Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, his contribution is much lauded. And in his capacity as Secretary in the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, he vigorously drove the Ease of Doing Business initiative. And now it has brought a lot of upscaling of bureaucracy. A lot of new initiatives have been taken. There is a spirit of competitive federalism among the states and union territories to improve their performance. And because of those initiatives, now India is making a quantum jump in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Index. And Mr. Kant has received number of laurels. Is highly decorated officer, he received Economic Times Policy Change Agent of the Year Award, Bloomberg TV Personality of the Year Award, NDTV Administrator of the Year Award, Distinguished Fellowship of Institute of Directors, and he is the recipient of One Globe Award 2016 for the leadership in transforming governance for the 21st century. He is also a recipient of Sir Edmund Hillary Fellowship awarded by the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and he is a member of steering board of shaping the future of production systems of World Economic Forum. He is also the recipient of Golden Peacock Award for Leadership in Economic Transformation 2017. And a background about his school days: he is a product of Modern School Delhi, graduated from St. Stephen, post-graduation from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and he's also done his midterm course with John F. Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, and Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Sir, we are much honored by your presence, and on behalf of Team Raj Nivas, on behalf of Dr. Kiran Bedi, I would like to heartily welcome sir, and I request our Chief Secretary to formally welcome all of us. Thank you.
From Delhi, sir. Honorable Lieutenant Governor, I heartily welcome on my behalf and on behalf of the administration, our Speaker, Sri Amitabh Kant ji. And it would be really a pleasure to listen to him. NITI Aayog these days is driving reforms. It is driving new thoughts in the country. I also happen to read his write-ups in the newspaper and also follow him on Twitter. Sir, this health infrastructure is very, very critical to our country. As you rightly noted, is one of your writer that in terms of GDP, percentage expenditure is very less. There are many structural constraints. I hope that those will be addressed as quickly as possible. There is a great hope. In fact, recently we have seen the farm sector reforms. They have been pending for a very long time, and nothing was being done. There was a lot of vested interest. For ideological reasons, things were not moving, and it was very simple. Why not give farmer what he deserves? Give him flexibility. We say that there should be option for a common man. Farmer should also have an option. If he finds that his produce is going to be purchased better outside the mandi, why not? And likewise, our revenue laws have been very, very restrictive. They have basically cycled the enterprising ship in the farming sector, and therefore contract farming and those ideas are not late at all. I hope that these new reforms will bring a very, very positive impact, will enthuse the common man, and there's a big landmass. And unless we talk about the changing the fate of farmers, raising their income, our agricultural productivity is very, very low. Now, this is just a side story. And another thing I am closely watching is the moves made on the labor reforms. I must say that we have a long way to go, but that is another area where we need to take a drastic step if incremental thing is not is not bringing us to the desired level. Sir, in this COVID, our infrastructure has really got exposed in many ways. It has the one thing that I personally realized, that typically when we plan about health infrastructure, we talk about big things, big hospitals, super specialist, and super hospital, super care facilities, and all that. What actually we need, what actually a common man needs, is basic health care. And many people do not need this high end patient care. Some may need, but most of them don't. and it is this protective kind of a preventive approach to healthcare that is very, very sincere. Sir, in Puducherry, we have roughly about 55 sub-health centers, 27 PSCs, and all of them have been converted into wellness centers. And of course, in now it is COVID times, so all our these facilities are engaged in fighting COVID. But these are we have taken advantage of the Government of India scheme, Ayushman Bharat, and converted these facilities into wellness centers. And we hope that these will be providing very, very common care, but very, very essential care to maintain that to have a good health support. As a matter of fact, Puducherry has a very good infrastructure, sir. In fact, it has about 7 medical colleges, private medical colleges that they got. The government medical college are additional, and we have a total medical seats roughly in the range of total put together would be around 1,500. Is a big chunk. In health sector, what we have really observed, I myself engineer, so it is very easy to compare what happens in other field and what is happening in engineering field. Some time back, engineering seat used to command a lot of premium. I mean, used to really fight corruption, how to avoid it, and what to do, how to regulate. But once more and more colleges have opened up, they have really provided a lot of engineers to the market. Of course, we have a long way to go so far as quality is concerned. I think similar kind of uncycling of medical education is very required. Unless we do that, we will not be able to meet the shortage. In fact, in the COVID times, even in Puducherry, sir, we tried to hire some additional manpower as it is happening elsewhere depending on requirement. And we found that we are able to get nurses, we are able to get ward boys, but we are not able to get doctors. It's basically demand and supply. It's demand and supply. There is the issue of working in the times of COVID. There is the issue of how much we can pay. But it is just that demand and supply, the equilibrium is such that we are not able to get as much as society would need. So, as you rightly said, sir, this Raj Nivas has really flagged a very important issue. The health sector reform, they are very, very timely, and the early we do collectively, it would be really a nice thing. Sir, it is, as I said, as my colleague Niti Das has said, you have a very sterling kind of a track record of being doer, of being a thinking civil servant. It is pleasure to listen to you, sir. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion and having spare time. Thank you, sir, from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the introductions and for all your guidance. I kindly request, and it's a privilege for me to welcome our speaker for the day, Shri Amitabh Kant, IAS, CEO of the NITI Aayog, Government of India, for his perspectives on topic for the day, next driver of growth, COVID pandemic, and opportunity to transform India's healthcare system. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Kiran Bedi ji, the Chief Secretary, the OSD, all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank the Honorable Lieutenant Governor for inviting me to deliver this lecture. I would have very much loved to be personally present in Puducherry because it's a fascinating place, and it's been one of my long desires to visit Puducherry during her tenure. But unfortunately, we are caught in very challenging times of COVID, and therefore, the best option we have right now is to do a virtual presentation. And therefore, it's a great pleasure to speak to all the distinguished people of Puducherry on this, and I'm really thankful to the Lieutenant Governor for inviting me to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, these are very challenging times. The crisis of COVID-19 is actually a crisis which is about 50 times bigger than the financial crisis of 2008. And if you look at even the crisis, the Great Depression of 2020, 1922, this is almost about 10 times bigger than that crisis. And this will be a prolonged crisis. Its aftermath and its implications will be far deeper, and it'll leave a huge dent as far as both lives and livelihoods are concerned. And therefore, actually, the COVID pandemic, while it has impacted lives in a very big way, it also offers massive opportunities, because the world will be totally restructured, it'll get reoriented, and in many ways, it'll be redesigned for another world of tomorrow. And it's very, very important to actually identify areas and sectors which will then become the next drivers of growth for a country like India. And in my personal view, actually, both education and health provide huge opportunities for India for future growth. And I've been a long-term believer that it's not a feasible proposition for India to become a $5 trillion economy or to grow at high rates of 9 to 10% over a long period of time, and to sustain this growth without a huge focus on nutrition, health, and education. And therefore, I've been advocating that actually a lot of restructuring needs to be done around these sectors, and actually we must use technology to leapfrog in these areas. Actually, if you look at the world today, the latest ranking of the top 10 companies which has just been announced, the top 8 out of the 10 companies are all tech companies. And during the COVID-19 period, actually the technology companies have grown threefold. Other companies have lagged behind, they've suffered miserably, but the tech companies have grown threefold, massive growth in technology companies. And therefore, what this shows is that the future really belongs to technology. And how do we leverage technology in the field of health, in the field of education, and leapfrog is the critical challenge. So normally I prefer to speak extempore, but this being a virtual presentation, I would like to take you through some visuals which will give you a perspective of what can be done to restructure and redesign India's health. Because my belief is that the ongoing pandemic has actually given us a unique opportunity to transform India's health, in a very big way, and we can create a very vibrant, dynamic, and progressive 21st century health system. But this would require us to undertake radical reforms. This would require us to restructure our health system. And I would merely like to say that actually India's health system has had several successes. We've had a huge improvement in key child and maternal health indicators. We are the pharmacy of the world. Our doctors and nurses have excelled across the world. And our private sector actually caters to a vast, almost 70% of India. We've actually, a lot of people from abroad come to India for the purposes of medical tourism. And actually, if it was not for India, the world would not have got medicine at the right price points. And across Africa, across Latin America, is the Indian pharmaceutical sector which have been able to provide medicine at really low prices and made medicine accessible to them. But there are huge challenges in India. One is the challenge of very low level of government spending on health. That's just about 1.3%. A vast number of people, actually almost 6 lakh people, a vast number of people go below the poverty line because they do out-of-pocket expenditure, and almost around 98% of healthcare facilities employ less than 10 people. So the system is very fragmented, it's very small scale, and there's a huge shortage of doctors and other qualified health personnel. You in Puducherry are very, very lucky because If you go to the eastern part of India, if you go to Bihar, UP, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, while the average WHO prescribes that there should be one doctor per 1,000 people, in Bihar it is close to about 3,000 people for one doctor. And because we don't have adequate doctors, and we have 22 times more engineers than doctors, almost about 75% of the primary visits are done by actually non-doctors who are actually quakes. And therefore, we need to find a mechanism by which we have better healthcare. I'm actually a great believer in primary healthcare. And therefore, in this table, you will see that the crux is to ensure a very sound, comprehensive primary healthcare system, and then provide a continuum of care, which is broken down in India from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary. And we need a very, very good continuum of care. And this fragmented health system, actually, one of the good thing that has happened by this great thing that this government has done is to, in this Ayushman Bharat program, it is focused on 150,000 primary healthcare system at the grassroots level, which take care of the complete continuum of care. And therefore, primary healthcare has now become the focus area for us, so that we are able to provide yoga, Ayurveda, and allopathic medical healthcare at the grassroots level. And that is what our whole focus is on. And then you need to actually strengthen your sub-district and your district hospitals. This is really the key. The other big thing is, because you have a vast number of families going below the poverty line, because they do not, on tertiary care, they pay from out of pocket. The Prime Minister came out with the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. It is the biggest health insurance scheme across the world, with 500 million people insured, and that is more than the population of USA and Europe put together. So a biggest health insurance scheme, which is digital, which is cashless, which is portable. So a person from Bihar can go to Puducherry, he'll carry his health insurance, and therefore it is one of the most remarkable developments that has happened in any country. As I stated, that one of the key things this government has done is to focus on health and wellness centers, and focused on doing about 150,000 health and wellness centers. Many of these primary health and wellness centers, actually, the challenge was to provide good preventive and curative care at the grassroots level, but also link up digitally these primary health center with the district hospitals, so that people at grassroots level are able to access good doctors, specialist doctors from the district hospitals. So our objective has been that not only do we provide good care at the primary health center and ensure good medicines, but also do it in an integrated manner, that is, provide also yoga and Ayurveda, and then link it up to the district hospital so that specialist care is available through specialized doctors. So as I was saying that, about almost 82% of individuals in India had no health protection. The Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana actually covers a vast number of people with about 5 lakh per family per annum. It has impaneled both public and private hospitals. It has enabled cashless benefits across India. And a whole range of families who used to go below poverty line because they had no care are now being taken care of through the Ayushman Bharat scheme. And it is truly a remarkable scheme which is totally digital and portable. We have actually, if you look at the present status of this PMJ, we've just completed 2 years of it. The scheme was conceptualized and actually initiated in NITI Aayog, and it has supported over 1 crore people have been impacted by this. It's over about a huge number of hospitals have been impaneled, over 23,000, and everybody has been issued an e-card, and this will cover over 500 million people of India as we go along. So our vision is really that this scheme for insurance should get extended to the non-poor in the future, and actually should be a health insurance scheme for the middle sector, who's not just the who right now it covers the SECC population, which is poor, but our objective is that it should also cover non-poor and well-off as we go along over a period of time, so that it becomes the national insurance scheme. And this is simply because 6 to 7 crore people fall into poverty each year due to medical expenses. They are quite often the non-poor, and therefore there is a missing middle in India which needs to be covered as we go along. Many of us are well off, but the middle class, the missing middle, which we call the non-poor, needs to be covered, and that is what our objective should be in the long run. The second point I want to make is that if you look at this, one of the challenges of India is that even after 70 years, 1 in 2 women are anemic in India, 1 in 3 children are stunted, 1 in 4 children are wasted. And I think one of the biggest failures of the Indian civil servants and in the Indian bureaucracy has been its failure to provide good nutrition. And this is something in which there is no politics. So I don't see why we should not have succeeded and been a remarkable success story of good nutrition. And therefore, my belief is that there is a huge amount of surge in non-communicable diseases, and this is a huge focus needs to be laid on the contributors to the disease burden. And if you were to look at malnutrition is one, air pollution, dietary risk, high blood pressure, high fasting plasma glucose, tobacco use, wash, high total cholesterol, all of this we've given here just to tell you that actually prevention is the key. We are telling you that actually these are the 10 contributors to disease burden, and a vast segment of population is actually going below the poverty line on account of these diseases, and there's a huge pressure now on mental health and palliative care services. And actually our focus should be on this: how do we improve great nutrition? And this is particularly true because if we do not take care of this at the preventive level and in the primary health level, it will be very difficult to lift people above poverty line on a later date, and it will be very difficult to stop the huge expenditure on education on a later date. And therefore, this focus on primary health center is important, but more important than that is educating people on these areas. And I'm really delighted that the Prime Minister has today focused on the Fit India campaign so that all of us actually live a healthy life. And if we lead a healthy life, we will all have no major problems later on. And this is really the key. The other point I wanted to make out is that India lacks a public health cadre. And if you have a strong public health cadre at the grassroots level, which is very important, and Chhattisgarh actually did it in the last tenure of the last government, where they created community health care people at the grassroots level. If you look at successful countries in healthcare, Thailand, for instance, and Thailand has done very well during this present crisis of COVID-19 because it has a community healthcare center. So my strong view is that states must create a public health cadre in states like Chhattisgarh has done. And this is really the key. We have worked on a model public health cadre by drawing upon best practices, and we feel that this is really the key. You can have a community health cadre is important, but a primary health cadre is important, a community health cadre is important, and then you'll be able to detect, and then you'll be able to refer people to the sub-district and the district and able to stop spread of diseases in a big way. And this is really important. And one of our I've given this illustrative public health cadre design here for all of you to see, because this, to my mind, is really the crux of the challenge that we, in most of our states, we have actually quakes coming in because there's a severe shortage of doctors in India, which has been created in India, an imbalance in demand and supply. And at the grassroots level, instead of genuine doctors, because we don't have public primary health, public health cadre at the grassroots level, you have quacks who are giving out medicine and doing more damage than good. So one of my belief is that, and which we've recently, because the Medical Council of India was superseded, it was chaired by the member health here, Dr. Paul. They have actually done a lot of rationalization. They have relaxed a lot of current norms for undergraduate and postgraduate faculty, and actually last year itself, they have created close to about 40,000 new seats across the country, simply because earlier the elected bodies were not, had kept such a tight control based on a whole lot of irrational features. This has all been done away with, and there's a very high capital cost. It costs 250 crores to set up, establish a hospital for 150 doctors. So all this is now being done away with. The government in the budget came out with a policy to build up medical colleges in partnership with the government district hospitals. What they've said is that you can have a PPP medical college where the referral material will come from the district hospital, and 81,000 crore as viability gap fund that's been provided for that. And secondly, our focus has to be on creating a cadre of nurse practitioners, nurses like in UK, Thailand, who are able to provide, who are able to do injections, provide medical support, etc. And also, we are advocating that there should be a bridge course for both dental and Ayush practitioners, so that we enable them to do community medicine, and a short-term bridge course for foreign graduates who have not passed the Indian degree, and also introduce a district residency program, which has now been done for junior doctors. We are suggesting all this because the population, the present challenge for India is that we just have zero. The WHO standard is the global average is 1.72. The WHO has a norm of 1:1,000, but in India we just have 0.7 to 1,000, and in Bihar, UP, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, it's really bad situation. You have one doctor for 3,500 people, and therefore no medical aid is provided to the patient. Now, the government has actually, in the last 2 years, taken a series of measures for augmenting human resources for health. It has sanctioned 37 new medical colleges. The superannuation age for doctors has been increased. The norms for the DNB, which is another board, has been relaxed in a very big way so that degree holders can teach in hospitals and state medical colleges. And Ayush has been offered as an elective subject for UG medical students. And this parliament has recently passed a reform education like we did for medical council for Ayush also, and similar reforms are being now pushed in dentistry, nursing, allied, so that the medical councils now will have been given more responsibility. They've been restructured. They're not merely elected bodies, but they'll comprise of professionals, etc. And therefore, my view is that in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll see some radical changes in Ayush, dentistry, nurses, etc. also. The other key challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is to really push for health research and innovation. We in India are essentially a manufacturer of generic drugs, but we need to get into advanced manufacturing and become a leader, a global leader. And we demonstrated this at the beginning of the COVID crisis. We actually started manufacturing PPE, we started manufacturing N95. A lot of our automobile manufacturers started doing ventilators, and ICMR developed the first indigenous human ELISA COVID-19 test, and today Tata's and CSIR have developed the CRISPR test, and so on, many things. So to push all this technologies, we had actually become a big importer of active pharmaceutical ingredient from China. And though we are a big exporter of pharmaceuticals, we were dependent on China. And therefore, one of the things the government did was to come out with a policy of a production-linked incentive for active pharmaceutical ingredients so that they will be manufactured in India now. And a huge amount of focus is being laid so that India becomes totally reliant and self-independent as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned. And our objective is to give a massive push to technologies, to give a huge push to innovation, and a lot of easing on the procedures and regulatory procedures also being done. On 15th of August, on our Independence Day, the Prime Minister had announced the digital health program so that we can harness the power of digital health. Because today we run from one doctor to another, one hospital to another, and none of this is tracked, none of this is digitally available. So what we are doing is, like we've done with Aadhaar, each one of us will have a digital health identity, and all our health record will be tracked, and we will all be able to track our health performance, and every doctor will be able to access whether I'm getting treated in Bihar or I'm getting treated in Kerala. He'll be able to access it, and this will throw up a huge amount of data, and with this data we'll be able to use machine learning and artificial intelligence to find solutions to the challenges which India has in its health, challenges relating to tuberculosis, etc. If we are able to find a solution to these challenges of India using AI and machine learning, we will be finding a solution not for the 1.4 billion people of India, but for the 7 billion people of the world who will be moving from poverty to middle class. And therefore, this is a huge opportunity to use mobile technology, to use data, to use AI, and make a technological leapfrogging in digital health. So the National Digital Health Mission has been launched. It's a part of the National Health Authority, and this will give each one of us a unique health ID carrying details of our treatment history, and all doctors, hospitals, diagnostic labs, and pharmacies will all be given a digital identity. But one of the things we did as the COVID-19 broke out was that we realized that it will be very difficult to access doctors. You know, everybody was putting attention on the pandemic. Hospitals' beds were getting diverted, and it was impossible for people who were suffering in different urban and rural areas to access the doctors. And therefore, from NITI Aayog, we came out with a guideline for telemedicine practice. And this was notified by the Health Ministry. And we have now pushed for this online medicine in a very big way. So everybody in India is able to access online consultation, online medicine, and we are now building the Bharat Health Stack in a very big way. We worked with the private sector actually to create the SWAST. We worked with about 100 odd private sector people to present this SWAST telemedicine app, which enables everybody to access, and over 5,000 doctors are already registered in it, and this has become the most powerful telemedicine app in the world today. We also have the Health Ministry's e-Sanjeevani, which supports telemedicine services, and therefore our belief is that telemedicine will be the new normal in healthcare. Just shoot a photograph, load it onto your mobile, send it to your doctor, get the best possible advice, go to him only when it's absolutely necessary. So, ladies and gentlemen, our belief is that health sector will emerge as a very big driver of growth and employment as the health sector gets reconfigured in India, with primary health care, with the health insurance, with the restructuring of the Medical Council of India, which has opened up the doors to medical education, with 40,000 new seats, with creating public health cadre, with telemedicine growing and booming, this sector will actually has the capacity to provide a massive over 7.5 million direct jobs. It can be India's biggest driver of growth in the years to come. And this, to my mind, is critical because what it shows is that it is not possible for India to grow without health and without primary health care. And therefore, we need a lot of doctors, we need specialists, we need dentists, and all of this is now being opened up by the Medical Council of India. This opening up by the Medical Council of India and now being replaced by the Medical Commission of India is, to my mind, the biggest reform and a most revolutionary reform that has been carried out. And this will be a very big driver of growth. I wanted to touch on a few other aspects that actually a UT like Puducherry should use technology in a very big way, and that will really usher in reforms. And if you look at Puducherry, we were just examining this, that the size of the economy has actually become twice of its level in 2011-12 at GST. Its average GST growth during last 3 years has been very impressive at about 12.6%. Its per capita income is at current prices is about $3,203, which is very, very good. Its sector-wise contribution actually in state and services and industry is very high. And actually Puducherry, despite the COVID, we've seen some slowing down in the Puducherry economy in 2019 and 20, but its target really should be that the target should be to double the output by the year 24-25, and the economy must grow in real terms at 11% per annum year after year, even assuming inflation rate of 4%. And this is very much feasible for Puducherry to do. And this would require you to drive many areas. And my personal view is that the world is getting reconfigured, completely restructured, and therefore supply chains are getting disrupted from China in a big way. People will, whatever Mr. Trump may have done, he's done one thing, and that is that the American and European companies are not looking at China anymore. And therefore, this provides an opportunity for Indian destinations to emerge as global manufacturing states. We need to really look at areas of growth. And what the government of India has done is it has created a production-linked incentive scheme for mobile manufacturing, for medical devices, for pharmaceuticals. And now we are doing this for automobile, auto component, networking products which go into telecom, food processing, advanced chemistry cell, battery storage, solar PV manufacturing. And therefore, this is a great opportunity in the sunrise areas of growth. Quite often, India gets into sunset areas of growth and it's very difficult to penetrate. But many of these areas like battery storage, solar PV, and actually provide huge opportunity, because Puducherry is one area which can become a great area of soft manufacturing and get into the sunrise areas of growth, particularly areas like mobile manufacturing, food processing, advanced battery and solar PV. And actually solar can be a very big driver of Puducherry's growth. The other point I want to make is that digital payments will be a big driver, and actually Puducherry can take the lead in India and become totally digital, because that's what the movement has really grown with the unified payment interface. It's like Aadhaar, on a platform on which we've allowed private sector to grow. So Google Pay, we've had Google Pay, we've had Paytm, we have Phone Pay, all operating on this. And actually, it'll be a remarkable achievement if Puducherry can all drive digital payment and financial inclusion through it. So ladies and gentlemen, there are huge emerging areas of electronic manufacturing, electric mobility, which we are pushing in a very big way, because the cost of battery is falling. It's fallen from $1,100 kilowatt hour to $176 per kilowatt hour, and will come down in the next 3-4 years and make it on par with combustion engine vehicles. And this is another area for Puducherry to go completely electric, It can be the first state and the UT in India to have gone totally electric. There's a massive opportunity. And once you do this, battery storage will get a big fillip. And we are here to work in partnership with the Puducherry administration. We'll handhold you and take it forward. We also feel that there's a massive opportunity for data storage using technology and using artificial intelligence, which provides a massive opportunity for growth. These are areas which can actually take Puducherry to another quantum jump and making it a remarkable area for growth. And that's why I'm a believer that because data is so cheap in India, it's cheaper, 20 times cheaper than USA, 10 times cheaper than UK. It's a huge opportunity to do machine learning, artificial intelligence in the state of Puducherry. The other key area to my mind is water management, because I'm a great believer that good water management is really the key to India's growth. And therefore, this again provides a huge opportunity for a completely new economy of development through good water management. New sensor networks, better management of a huge range of IoT enabled applications. And again, this is an area where technology will be the key driver. So Puducherry can take the lead in this, and genomics is another area which I wanted to focus on, because we are doing in government the India Gen projects, under which the full genomes of over 1,000 individuals are sequenced. But this is a sunrise area of growth in life sciences and healthcare. And this again can be a very major area of growth. So ladies and gentlemen, my view is that every crisis is actually an opportunity, but the COVID-19 has thrown up several challenges, but the fundamentals are strong. India's fundamentals are strong, and the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat is about a single-minded pursuit of reforms. I was in school when coal was nationalized. It's taken 50 years to denationalize coal. We've changed the definition of MSME, which was pending for over 2 decades. Farm reforms were pending for over 4 decades. Mineral reforms were pending for a long time. Labor reforms were pending for 5.5 decades. So reform after reforms have been carried out, and now it's for us to implement these reforms and also use technology to leapfrog. The COVID-19 global crisis has provided us with massive opportunities. We will never get this opportunity. There's no better time for a huge innovative movement to begin. And to my mind, it must begin from Puducherry. And ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, I will conclude, and I will open to any question answer that you may have. I have my additional secretary, Mr. Rakesh Sarwal, Urvashi Prasad is here. Many of our medical wing officers are all here. They'll all be very happy to interact with all of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for giving me this opportunity. I'm extremely grateful to you.
Thank you, sir. In these challenging times, your guidance comes like a ray of sunshine. I now request our Honorable Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Kiran Bedi, for her special address and for taking this session ahead. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Kant, thank you once again for having so willingly and instantly responding to our request to come and address the medical fraternity here, the members of the media, and our public officials who are all watching you and listening to you, and the many other individuals with whom we shared your 2 pieces. You wrote 2 wonderful pieces in the newspapers, one of good 10 lessons to be learned, and the one which was recently, which we referred to. We closely followed, we tried to practice them as well. I have to, before I give you my observations based on the COVID experience as an administrator of Puducherry, I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, which has come from Mr. Gautam Chaudhary. He says, give us gainful engagement to the senior citizens directorates. What is the action plan for engagement to geriatric animators? It's a question to you, which we identified for you. Mr. Kant.
Yeah. So this is a huge challenge which during the COVID-19 we faced. And it was a particularly big challenge for us in the aspirational districts, which are, we run this program of, in the most backward districts of India, which the Prime Minister wants us to improve. Uh, we don't call them backward, we call them aspirational districts. And there we launched a program, the Suraksha Dada Dada Nana Nani campaign, involving all the senior citizens of the districts. But we will be very happy to engage with the citizens of Puducherry in a very big way, because right now it's important that instead of involving you in many other activities, to keep you engaged and keep you healthy. And we will be very happy. Uh, we have a nudge unit here, which will be very happy to work with you to launch this campaign with the senior citizens of Puducherry, and see how we can motivate, how we can inspire, how we can keep them involved in a vast range of areas. The other key thing is that in India, the government has a vast number of schemes, a huge number of schemes. People are not aware, people are not educated about these schemes, and they are not aware, they are not educated. And those who are educated like us are not educating others to avail these benefits. And I would be very happy to initiate a campaign in Puducherry where every senior citizens and take up this job of educating one more person digitally on the other schemes which people can utilize. And therefore, if government schemes can be spread around, the central government schemes can be spread around by senior citizens to others, and they can just adopt just one family, and educate them on the various government schemes that are available to those who are below poverty line. That will really transform India in a very big way. So these are the two suggestions that I would like to make.
Thank you so much. Here's a second question, Mr. Kant. This is coming from within our own doctor who's running the whole COVID war room center here. Is our government planning any concrete action plan for non-communicable diseases during this pandemic? In the absence of this, if not this, will turn out to be pandemic after a pandemic. That's what the doctor says.
No, it's a very, very good question, and let me compliment him on this. It's a huge worry, it's a huge challenge for all of us that communicable diseases are having a huge impact. And actually, one of the things which we have been telling the medical departments of all the states, that actually it's the whatever happens during the COVID, don't put all your energy only on the COVID. Please take care of people who are impacted by non-communicable diseases. And actually, messages after messages have gone to state governments to tell them that two aspects. One is, please ensure that the nutrition programs are not impacted, so that people below the poverty line are not impacted in a very big way. Because if the nutrition program gets impacted, then a complete generation will get impacted in terms of malnutrition. And second is that because vast number of people, 7 crore people going below the poverty line because of non-communicable diseases, please ensure that the existing schemes of India, of Government of India and of the state governments, as far as non-communicable diseases are concerned, they are fully implemented. And a specific plan for this has been laid out by the Health Ministry for all of them, all the state governments, and there's been a huge stress on this aspect.
I have a third question, which you partially answered, therefore now I'm going to raise it, but I'll raise it in my closing remarks. Now I want to come back to the crisis which we've all gone through and still going through. And I wanted to share with you what it has revealed here, not only in Pondicherry, but as the news spread nationally. So please don't make this into, no listener should consider this as Puducherry specific. What it has revealed is a huge underbelly of our systems. Number two, it has revealed very disjointed how they work. Third, it revealed how self-centered most of the systems were, very self-centered. Fourth, it revealed very non-communicative leadership. Fifth, it also revealed leaderless even in certain medical facilities. It was leaderless. Sixth, it revealed that while many of these institutions are connected with the central institutions, I think the oversight by the central institutions, I think, was very deficient. Therefore, it allowed these institutions to be what they were when the crisis revealed their undervalue. We need not repeat this. So these are my immediate observations of how what, because it's costed us hugely when all these things were experienced. Of course, all the countries overcoming all this now, but these were things which were right, which hit us in the eye. Now, I have a little ideas for the NITI Aayog, which I think we need you a little more proactively, just as the Ministry of Health, the ICMR, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Home Affairs, constantly sent us very good guidance. They sent us very good SOPs, and we kept guiding. What was not coming was management. What was coming was very practical, was certain critical technical issues. What was not coming was, how do we set up a control room? How do we manage a control room? How soon should we set up a control room? What should the control room be functioning? Because this is one of the first things. Just saying only setting up a control room is not enough. The SOP, the functioning, the details by when it should be set up. It should be set up by every district and every city, because it varies. Without mentioning any state, but our health secretary today is being asked by another state, how have you set up a control room? Could you please tell us how? So means that this is where the variance was. I think management was deficient in guidance. We thought management can be taken for granted. No, each one of us is at all levels of management, how we lead our institutions. Therefore, I would suggest the following. Look, what the presentation you've given us is wholesome, substantial, visionary, need of the hour, and the future of healthcare. And that's why your article made out this. But we need immediate solutions. We need immediate care, and we need immediate, interim, and long term. Yours are interim and long term. I'm looking for immediate relief. Now, my immediate request for the NITI Aayog are, please ask all states to declare and commit the medical budgets. Please commit the medical budgets, because in the end we are left borrowing money. We don't have a budget. And that's where the testing facilities goes, the the personal protection systems go, the ambulances are not available, the volunteers to be paid internships are not available. Please ask every state to declare as interim measure before the next budget what's going to be your medical budget. Everywhere. And where you are funding. I think that should be conditional, that this is the minimum budget. Otherwise, we are borrowing and it will collapse again, number one. Number two, training. What's your training schedule of the medics? I think that's another area which is it's left to the individual to train, online training, go for training, or take study leave for training. Why don't you do regular training on the job? Why don't you do on-the-job training? Why should you go long-term? Go long-term. But why should not be online self-training be made mandatory as a part of the appraisal systems of the medics? Third is personnel. I think what is hugely suffering in these medical institutions, you want them to perform. Their personnel is backward. Their personnel is politicized. It's also somewhere corrupted. They don't have faith in the system. Our personnel policies should be transparent. Transfer policies, posting policies, progression policies, all these area policies. I think these are important personnel. And I must say, most of these medical institutions are hugely suffering from personnel deficiencies. So they don't have their heart in it. They're just doing their job. And private practicing later. They work for 5 hours, 6 hours, rest of the time going into private practice, because that's where they get their inner inspiration from. Should private practice as a policy be allowed or not? Should become a national policy or a state policy. Somewhere it isn't. You can't make a change. So personnel policies. Managerial problem. Many states many institutions been headless for months and years, and wrong kind of people leading it. So I'm looking at management, I'm looking at personnel. Now I'm looking at most important thing is collaboration. Puducherry today has 9 hospitals 7+2, as the Chief Secretary mentioned. 7+2, we got JIPMER and we got our own Indira Gandhi Medical College. And 7 private. The 7+2 never met in normal times. There are no collaboration systems. Nobody's a uniter. Nobody brings us together. Nobody in peacetime works together. So what is the collaboration system which NITI Aayog would like to mandate for the peacetime to work? And then your basic healthcare. You know, we have more than 6,500 students, PG, and why should they not be part of the beginning with healthcare at the tertiary level, at the beginning level? Because they learn hands-on training, and that's what national education policy is all about. You join medical, go and volunteer. You will volunteer in the dispensaries, in the villages, etc. Stay put there. It's a part of their training. We got 6,500 students here, and we have one doctor to 500 people almost. One doctor to 500 people. Imagine, yet we had this whole COVID crisis. Why? Because 7+2 were never ever brought together, and it just took us Disaster Management Act to bring them together. Why should Disaster Management Act be told come together? Why should it not be volunteered? So I'm looking for a community volunteering in normal times. So therefore, with Puducherry, 1:500 doctor. That means our healthcare, a primary healthcare, can be taken at the grassroots level immediately by you mandating these 7+2 and the students 6,500 plus these doctors. And you know, we have 2,500 nurses also, because we got nursing institutions. We never got together in normal time. We're trying to recruit a doctor. We're trying to recruit nurses. Why should they not be already there? Why should they not be volunteering? And most of them would be on pretty subsidized education. So I would say that collaboration with students and doctors. Then co-option. Co-option in peacetime. Co-option in normal time, called the normal times collaboration, where we think of crisis time collaboration. No, we must have common time, normal time collaboration. We'll be ready for any crisis anytime, because then you ring a bell. Just in the police, you have a red alert. You have the civil defense, you have the yellow alert. You should have a white alert. Let's go in for a concept called white alert. You alert white means all doctors, all students take your positions. To go to dispensaries, go for surveys, go for contact tracing, go for messaging. Why? We are looking for short of contact tracing. We're short of survey. Poor doctor in the PHC is also doing contact tracing. He's also doing survey. Why? When you have 6,500 students, you have thousands of nurses waiting. That means we could not co-opt, because we never co-opted, because there's no system. I'm not blaming anybody. We need mandated systems of collaborative, and then volunteering as a mandate. You have to authorize any private medical college. You license them. You allow them to function. Why does we go begging them? We go begging them. And then they say, how much will you charge? How much will you pay? You negotiate. All right, let's set the standards so that there's a white alert bell sounded, and the doctors and the nurses and they're all on duty. They're all working together. That means nobody's overworked. At the moment, most of them were crushing under so much overwork. Had we that VC I'm looking for is begin with what you have. My immediate answer for you is, let the country, not only Puducherry, let the country anywhere it is begins with what it has. Declares budget, training, personnel, management, collaboration, co-option, volunteering. And I have these parameters as you were triggering my thinking. These are the parameters I thought for you. You can add more because you have the consultants and the experts. I'm not the expert. I think once you do that, mandate it right away. Because before the next crisis comes, there will be no pandemic. Then you are already there. You will check. And then the messaging. The students could go fan out into the community. Hey, enforce mask, enforce social distance, enforce this. So once students and those who are inducted into, you will have sensitized them to volunteering from the beginning of their medical care. And look, you also have other paramedics. By the way, we also have a community college here. Let's make Chhattisgarh Community Medical College of the kind here. Let's do it right away. We have a community college which is with Puducherry University, which is the government of India. Let's bring community medical care in there for Ayush and yoga elsewhere. Right away. That means you will start having a 3-year program and you'll create more people. So I would think this is the lessons I've learned. I'm so glad that you and I are connecting. You have the solutions, but please mentor. I think you need to mentor the states. How do you manage? How do you collaborate? How do you coordinate? How do you lead? How do you communicate? Look, of our weeks together, we have to continue to tell our officers, communicate, because in normal time, they don't communicate. It's not their habit. It's not part of their training. It's the invisibility. It's a civil servant dealing with the file. That's it. But now you have to communicate. It took us a long time to find a communicator. So I think let's put up a peacetime health plan, which is a collaborative, and it's costing you nothing extra. It is non-financial pressure because you're only uniting all these medical solutions to begin with. And that's, to me, the beginning of what we have to start with. And then certainly must have a short-term, long-term, medium-term, what you're suggesting. We'll have to go towards that because we can't jump to that level of digitization. Many of our medics are not digital-oriented. They were having problems, even data management. So in normal times, we need to orient them towards digitization. You talk about applications, took us a long time to bring in an application. And even that, also we had challenges and we had to go on and on. We still at it. The point is lessons are learned. We're struggling with it. We still are struggling. Fortunately, we have come together. But you know, it's not going to last long. Now, this collaboration, which we already have set up now, must become long-term. Must not be, because COVID is going to last us for another, I would safely think, year plus, because you have to now the vaccine will come, the vaccine distribution will come. Who's going to go vaccine? We need a lot of, our health department is 2.5 people, 3.5 people, or so many people. And we don't know, the Puducherry administration is doing nothing but COVID management right now. Why? Because this is union territory with very few officers of leadership. You may have a lot of B and C, but at the A group, the leadership is very small. Therefore, we need a lot of hand-holding, but we need these directions to collaborate, mandated written orders to collaborate and to participate. So I would think who's better than you? Send us these SOPs, mandates, and etc., so that we immediately now long-term with vaccinations coming, we don't again look for where do we go? We should know what to do. The vaccine plan, the management plan, the personnel training plan, etc., should fall in place now before somebody snatches away the vaccines and we have a riot. Where did the vaccine go? Why did it not go here? I think all that would needed to be. To my mind, I thought this is what was my last question, saying my question, which I did not pose to you, was this exactly. And I forget. It is? Okay, good. Doesn't matter. So the question is, we wait for your leadership, we wait for your collaboration, mentorship, and a lot of directions on these software issues. These are now software issues and collaborative issues. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Governor, for your inputs and your guidance and your, you are yourself such a great leader that every time we listen to you, we learn and get motivated ourselves. So it was wonderful to listen from the ground level upwards. It's very important to get the feedback from the ground. Actually, it's not that guidelines have not been issued. A lot of guidelines have been issued both by Health Ministry to the states, by constant interactions on a regular and frequent basis by the Cabinet Secretary with all the Chief Secretaries. Regular basis. We've taken a whole of India approach where empowered groups were constituted here. I headed one empowered group. We mobilized 92,000 civil society organizations and NGOs. All that has been done. But, unfortunately, it becomes very difficult to take over the role of the states. And therefore, because we are in a federal polity, but we are always there to work with you, to collaborate and partner you in everything possible. And whatever you say, we'll work with you in very close collaboration and partnership. So we'll be delighted to do this. And especially in matters of COVID and matters of health, our whole health division will work with you.
Thank you
So
so much.
thanks.
Thank you so much for giving us such a valuable time and
No.
your vision ahead, a blueprint, and where are we going to go through. All I can say is, but we need clarity in managerial and leadership issues, which need, you have other technicals, but management, just one line is not enough unless you give a blueprint. We need more blueprints.
Yeah.
We need little more details because some of us are at another level of growth. Some are young, some are seniors. How much time will one chief secretary handhold everybody? Poor one man cannot handhold everybody. Everybody's at their own level. So we need to strengthen.
Yeah, sure. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your invite, and it's been a wonderful interaction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We can all rise for the national anthem while thanking you. Thank you.
National anthem, sir. On है ना?
शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक जय, भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे, जय हे, जय हे।